A very, very, very good evening. Warm welcome to our special edition of Dan Really Likes Wine, brought to you by Pick and Pay, as we've had this year, because we are joined by not just a couple of fabulous winemakers, one of whom is very much a regular on the show and a dear friend of mine, the other who's making her debut, but has made some wine, or at least had a fairly sterling hand in it, from a couple of estates that I spent a fair bit of time at. But also I'm joined by a really, really good mate of mine, a fellow Zimbabwean, and a man you might know once upon a time as a rather good rugby player, but who now, in between his dozens of business interests, I've actually lost count of quite how many different things he's doing at the moment, appearing on magazine covers and taking over America and running the world. He also has a brand new wine collection. In just a moment, I will be introducing you to Tendai the Beast Mtawarira, who this evening at the Marriott Melrose Arch will be launching the Beast Signature Collection. 4 wines, 5 if you're really, really lucky, that speak to not just Tendai's love of wine, but also to the style of wine that he really, really enjoys. So Tendai joining me along with 2 very special winemakers, and we'll be saying hello to them in just a moment. Before we do that, though, let's kick off the show, as we always do, live this week from the Marriott Melrose Arch, with a little bit of news from the world of wine. So that is the Pick and Pay Wine and Food Festival. If you're on the show on Monday, you would have heard me saying that we would have loved you to come along and come and join me. I'll be hosting that festival at the Mall of Africa at Waterfall Park on Saturday. Unfortunately, what I'm now saying to you is, well, if you haven't got tickets, you're going to have to wait for the next one, because it is sold out. I even had to tell Tendai, we wanted to go to a wine festival instead of going to the Springbok game. I'd say, sorry, you're going to have to go and watch the rugby, because the Wine and Food Festival at Pick and Pay is sold out. It is going to be a terrific occasion, and if you can't make it, we will have our crew out there. We will be filming it, and you'll be able to see that on the show in a few weeks' time. So that is a really, really cool one coming up, and very much looking forward to that on Saturday. If you do have tickets, then do come and say hello. You'll be able to say hello to me. You won't be able to say hello to my guest, because he won't be there, but you can say hello to him this evening. That's what I will be doing. Tendai Mtawarira. Good evening.
Good evening, Dan. Good to see you.
You're having a long week. This is the second time you've been stuck on TV with me this week.
I know, it's just my luck. I get to spend so much time with you. It's great.
And I'm really excited. I had you on the Dan earlier this week. That goes out later tonight with its premiere. And we got to tell some great stories. But at the end of the show, you gave me that very special gift of the bottle of wine that speaks to the latest endeavour, and the journey of Tendai from World Cup-winning Springbok to serial entrepreneur with a string of businesses has been so cool to watch, but especially the wine, because we have a shared love of wine, and I've seen that. You've been around for dinner. It took 6 weeks to repair my cellar afterwards. But it seems to be love. Tell me about this wine journey. When did you first try wine, and was it a case, like many, many people, that you didn't really like it when you first tried it?
So you know what, then the story is quite amazing, because I only tasted wine when I was came to South Africa, and only later on in my career as a rugby player, and it was love at first taste. You know,
really?
I promise you, I had a bottle of red wine.
Like literally.
Yeah. Okay, not the whole bottle, probably a glass, and then I just loved it, you know. And then it became something of a hobby, you know, to always try and buy wine every time I go to Argentina, buy a Malbec, or go to France, go to Bordeaux, buy some wine there. So it just became like a little obsession of mine. And every time I'm at home, I used to drink wine with my wife, just to have a moment and spend time after a long day of training, in the sun. So it just became a really, big part of who I was, and people didn't know about this. So obviously now that I'm retired now, I met Cheryl and Patty. They're not here tonight, unfortunately, but they've been in the wine industry for a few years. So they asked me, you love wine so much, why don't you start your own brand? Because this is something that especially like blacks, sportsmen don't really draw into. It's usually a gin, or it's vodka, but no one has really ever went into the wine space, other than NEOs, of course, and T. Corson. So they're like, why don't you be the first, be a pioneer to go this route because you love it, it's a natural fit. So, it started probably about 8 months ago, and then we started thinking, are we going to get this marriage going, or this partnership? And thankfully, for this amazing people you got here, and you got Kuni, you got Gerard, the wine estates, they made themselves available for a partnership with myself, and I went down there and I spent some time with Gerard at his wine estate, Holden Manz in Franschhoek. And then I also went to Arra and I saw Kuni. So it was just amazing, to actually bring this whole thing together, and Rock Nation at the hand in it as well. And and now we're here, 6 months later, and we've figured out exactly what kind of wines that I like. And then, I'm not going to kind of give you too much information because I want you to, to taste it for yourself. But this wine collection has got some of the best wines in South Africa and Western Cape. So I'm really grateful for everybody coming along this journey.
You mentioned Ernie Els as one of the guys who's gone before you as a sports person making wine. I know Ernie's wine journey very well. He and I've discussed it both on this show, and there are several glasses of wine because Ernie does enjoy a couple of glasses. And what has set him apart as somebody who, as a celebrity, has put his name to wine is the quality of the winemakers involved. In his case, Louis Straden, down at Ernie Els Wines, and then the fact that the wines are authentic. Louis Straden often tells the story of sitting down with Ernie and giving him blind 15, 20 different types of red wine, and time and again he came back to the same wine, and so there's a real authenticity to the wine that he's made. And I suspect that that's what we're going to get from you, because you've spent a lot of time, you've already spoken about being out in the vineyards, meeting the guys, we'll speak to them in just a moment. Is this wine that speaks directly to the kind of wine that when Beast and Mrs. Beast open up a bottle for dinner, this is what you're drinking?
It certainly does, 110%. I can tell you that for sure. And I got to obviously taste the wine. I got to be there in person and witness firsthand, the work that goes on behind the scenes, to come up with such magnificent wine. And I remember sitting with Gerard, and we were around the table, and the first thing he told me, is like, hey, don't hold the glass, the top part, you gotta hold the bottom, because it takes a lot of effort to clean the glass. So all those little things, the etiquette of actually knowing about wine, just helped me on my journey. And I got to taste some amazing red wine from Holden Manz, and so I'm just so grateful that the wine estates would avail themselves to partner with me on this journey. And it's going to be a reflection of who I am as a person. So I really hope people enjoy it.
I'm really glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. However, that's the story from one person. We're going to have to verify this story and see if it's actually correct. Let's head over to the first of our guests, who is Carami Lanser, who joins us from Arra Wine Estate. Carami, really warm welcome to the show. Tell us about the first time that you met Mr. Mtawarira and what it was like having him on the estate.
Thank you, Dan. And hello, Beast. How are you?
Oh, good in yourself, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. You're looking very snazzy tonight.
Oh, thank you. We got the launch tonight, so I had to dress up,
Very, very snazzy. So the first time that I actually met Beast was at the vineyard. He came to us. He spent the whole afternoon with us. And, of course, first impressions was, of course, what a gentle giant. I don't think the TV does his size justice, but goodness me, it was just such a big pleasure to meet him. A lot of the staff was very excited. Even some of the cleaners dressed up beautifully for the day because they knew that the Beast was coming. So it was just the most amazing experience. We were very privileged to have him on the farm. We spent some time together. He tasted some of the wines, and then, of course, he selected his favorite one. But it was the most humbling experience. And I told him the story. I think everyone in South Africa has a story about the World Cup, where they were. They'll never forget it. And I told him our story of the family being together, and it's literally just one of those memories that I'll treasure forever. And to actually be able to meet someone who was in the team playing, it was kind of like a dream come true.
You're responsible for making one that I've just grabbed a bottle of. We're going to be trying this in a second, which is the rosé. Before we talk about the actual wine and how you've made it, tell me about the wine side of the relationship that you've struck up with the big man. Were you a little surprised by both how passionate Beast is about his wine and about his enthusiasm for this project?
Definitely was very surprised actually also about the knowledge that he knew about the wines. He also told us that he kind of never drank while he was playing rugby, and then when he retired, he started experimenting with wine. And the day that he actually came and tasted our wines, I was very, very impressed about how much he knew. Like he said, he went to a few wine farms before us, and he got a lot of tips there. The glass holding tip is probably a good one. So I was very surprised about how passionate he was and his tasting skills. The beast has a palate.
And it's an energetic one, as I've seen over dinner at Chateau Nickel. Well, you didn't just enjoy some wine, but you grilled me about it and you asked me about the wine, and I loved that. And so it speaks to someone who really does have a proper interest in wine. You're going to have a lot to answer for, I suspect, from the Front Row Club, because in the space of a week, the front cover of GQ magazine as a prop forward, and now you're making a rosé as a prop forward. There are a lot of the fat guys not going to be happy with this. But rosé's changed so much in its perception over the last few years. It's gone from being sickly sweet and very much seen as a drink that's had a certain category. It's changed as a wine. Before Carami tells us more about what she's made here, rosé for you, was it an instant decision? Is it a kind of type of wine you drink a lot of? Did you need a bit of persuasion to go with a bottle of pink?
I think, for me, it was literally the first time I tasted it. There were a few bottles on the table. Carami played it all out for me, and I got to taste it firsthand, and I just fell in love, with this bottle. And I told her, I think I even went back to it because after tasting a couple, thought maybe I would lose, obviously that kind of connection with the wine. But I didn't. I tasted it again. I'm like, no, this is 110% the one I would choose. And I don't drink a lot of rosé. I must say, my wife probably more than me. But I've got a big love, for all kinds of wine. So it was just an instant connection with this wine.
Let's get the winemaker's thoughts. You're tasked with a challenge. It's not a small challenge. Making a rosé that still speaks to the character of a World Cup-winning prop forward. How do you get that right with a bottle of rosé?
Well, if I can just add to his story as well, he definitely said that this wine his missus is going to love. So this is definitely the wine for his wife. We even sent a few bottles with. I hope you gave it to her and you didn't drink it up on the plane back. But yeah, it was very, very impressive actually that he liked the Blanc de Noir. Like you said, for such a big guy, drinking pink wine is probably not always the first choice. But I think in the style that we do make we made his wine, it's very, very, it's a very robust style. But also with the smoothness of a rosé and a Blanc de Noir coming through. So there's a little bit of a good balance between the structure and the fruitiness and the juiciness of the wine, which makes it a perfect fit for Beast.
All right, we're going to taste some of that in a second. We're just waiting for some wine glasses to arrive. Tendai looked at me quizzically. We need wine glasses? I don't normally use one, but that's what we're going to do for the sake of the show. We're going to come back to Arra in just a moment. Let's head on to Holden Manz. Now, here's an interesting fact. I don't know if you know this, Gerard Holden, proprietor of Holden Manz, and you, between the two of you, you have 118 international rugby caps. Because you played 117 times in the Springboks, and Gerard has got one game for Uganda.
That's awesome. He did tell me. He did tell me. So, you know, we shared a moment with Jared. You know, when he told me about his rugby journey. So, you know, we just felt so connected, you know, which is great. You know, good to meet another Ford, you know.
Tell me about the Holden Manz journey, because I remember, I think you actually sent me a picture from the estate the day you met Gerard, with a big smile on your face that you'd be bench pressing barrels in one hand and drinking magnums with the other, and clearly having a great day out. Gerard's an infectious character and he's a wonderful host, but it was more than just that. There was obviously something about Gerard's wine, and his red wine especially, that really spoke to you.
No, no, it definitely did. And I remember arriving at the estate, and obviously the icebreaker was talking about rugby. He told me that he knows one of my common friends, Skara, and yeah, from there we started obviously building onto the wine, and there were obviously quite a few red bottles of wine, and I just instantly liked the one bottle, and obviously went back and forth. I tasted a couple, and he showed me the back, where the barrels were, and what the process is like to obviously come up with the wine. It was very interesting, and then they introduced me to an amazing bottle of wine. And this year, I still have the empty bottle in my house because it's like a memento. Because my wife doesn't really like red wine, but when she tasted, and this year she was there. I think I remember my wife enjoyed it so much. She's not a red wine person, and she loved it. So I even kept the bottle as a memento. And yeah, I think the red wine was just exceptional because I'm a red wine person. So it was really like just
the stars aligned.
The stars aligned. Like it was obviously for my palate, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it kind of fitted in with maybe a Malbec, I'll probably say, or Bordeaux blend. So that's how I got kind of connected with the wine, and I'm really happy with the selection we chose. So thanks to Gerard for bringing the wine to us.
All right, well, let's cross over to the other rugby international we have on the show this week. Gerard Holden is currently on a fact-finding mission to Bavaria, which involves lots of beer research rather than wine. Gerard, lovely to have you back on the show, and welcome. Tell me about your recollections of your first encounter with the beast.
Sorry, I think I fell into mute there. I wanted to say happy birthday to Dan and hi to Tendai. Great to have had Tendai at the farm for the Sunday when he came to join us. I wanted to try out where his palate really was when we first met, because I've certainly supported Beast a few times on the rugby field. I was very upset by the way he took the English apart in the World Cup final, but I've forgiven him for that as he likes our wine so much. So I got to the feeling that big guys tend to like big wines on the whole, and that was very true with Tendai. He instantly gravitated towards our more full-bodied wines. And the wine that he chose ultimately for his collection is wine which I think shows off, the real character of this man. It's full-bodied. It's got a good strength to it, inherent strength to it. It's very attractive. It's very plush. It's very finessed, but it's got a real punch. And the most important thing, it's got a great finish. So it kind of matches the rugby player that I have in my mind, and the chance of Beast echoing through the stadium when he was at full throttle with the ball in hand.
It's a real translation, I think, this of all the wines of the character and the personality. The wine I've always given you that you enjoyed the most has been a big red wine. This is exactly that, Gerard's style. and it speaks to not just your character, your palate as well. You brought together in this wine a Cabernet Sauvignon and a Syrah, and without taking away from any of the other wines, we'll mention the other two at the moment. This is the one I think that really does speak to who you are.
I definitely agree. I think it's the one that really, connects to me because I love red wine. So I enjoy it so much, and I hope everybody that gets to taste the wine, appreciates it. Because, I must tell you, it is definitely one of the best reds I've tasted in my entire life. So, I'm excited to go to market. There's a lot of people that are asking me a lot of questions. Some of my ex-teammates, like, what is this wine all about? I'm like, it's a definition of wine. And,
Maybe we'll have to get you guys around and have a dinner and a proper wine tasting with some of your mates.
Exactly. Give Elizabeth especially. I gotta bring him over because it's like I don't know anything about wine, Jared. So I have to bring him
just as long as he doesn't hit me.
Nah, you won't.
I think we're both free that evening. I think we can make it.
Definitely.
We'll have to get Dan down to keep count of everything.
We look forward to that. I want to come back to both of our winemakers in a second because this is a journey that's only just beginning. I'm going to surprise you with one more guest, Mr. Mtawarira. And if you were a terrifying figure in the world of rugby, this is the man who scared the living daylights out of aspiring chefs season after season. And I'm one of them because he taught me to cook as well. Pete Goff-Wood, formerly of MasterChef and now of Ultimate Brine Master, one of my favourite South African chefs. Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, Pete. Lovely to see you. How are you?
Right, Dan, and hey, guys, I'm super excited about getting my hands on some of this fantastic wine that you guys have been talking about.
Well, I want to get some counsel from you, Pete, for our new wine entrepreneur here. Before we do that, Gerard very kindly wished me a happy birthday. Beast gave me a birthday hug. I think I've got 3 cracked ribs, but it was worth it. I asked you a question when I was down at your fabulous new restaurant in Camps Bay, Bovine. We're over at a cracking steak. You need to get there, Tendai, and a couple of bowls of really good wine. We had a chat about today. And one of the things I'd asked you to do before the opportunity to join Beast here today came up was to talk about birthdays and celebrations. And we might be adding some of the Beast wine to the list, but I asked you to come up with 1 or 2 bottles of wine that you felt were those ultimate celebration bottles. If you had to have just those 1 or 2 that were for the biggest birthday or the biggest night out. Did you have a chance to come up with a couple of ideas, though?
Yeah, look, I came up with a couple of ideas. I was hoping, well, I say hoping, to have some. I've got some hearty reds and thinking that this is exactly what you should be drinking in the windy, wet times of down winter. But I'm sitting in Camps Bay and it's 25 degrees outside, so we won't compare the wine to weather. But I've come up with 2 of my favorite reds, which generally this time of year are really drinking and always are superb celebratory wines, and also just for this time of year. The first of which is I'll show you is one of our favorites always is the Newton Johnson Pinot Noir, which is an ever favorite. It's made by a good friend of mine, and it's good for hearty weather. It's good for light weather, and so we're tasting a little bit of that. But of course, the other thing which is perfect for this summer and for best for celebrations is one of my new, very, very good favorites. It's wine that I've been drinking for a long, long time, particularly during lockdown. Albi's Drift. They make some of the best, I think, value for money wines in this country, and that you can have good, quaffable gear for 40 or 50 rand, or you can do this and you can push the boat out with their premium Pinotage, which is just off the charts. This is it. It's magnificent. It's rich. It's suited for this weather, and certainly worthy of Dan's birthday celebration. How old are you now, Dan? 64, I think it is now, if I'm keeping track. You know, it's. I mean, I've known Dan since I was a teenager, and he's always been a bit of a mentor to me. So it's wonderful to see that he's survived so long.
I suspect I'll probably feel 64 after a night out of the Tendai and his wine launch this evening, but it will be well worth it. There's some great wines, and I'll be stripped part of the Pick and Pay Wine and Food Festival this weekend. Look out for their Chardonnay, Viognier, Chenin blend amongst some exceptional wine there. So there's some great wines to try. We're going to add the Beast collection to those for you to sample and get some into the restaurant with you there, Pete. What would you make? And this is where I really want some advice for Tendai starting his wine journey now. You've got loads of examples of celebrities just happily splashing their name on a bottle, not knowing too much about it, not thinking too much about it, and away they go, try and make a bit of money. This seems to be a very different space. Tendai's put a lot of time and thought into it. As somebody who, through the restaurant trade for many, many years, has seen wines come and go, seen celebrity wines come and go. What's your advice? What's your counsel to the man behind the Beast signature wine collection to ensure that this is more than just one winter of indulgence and actually becomes a long-lasting and successful wine brand?
Yeah. Look, I think first and foremost, you must be true to yourself. You know, if you're going to put your name to a wine, it must be something you would drink. You know, there are many fashionable blends and fashionable cultivars, but if you're going to put your name to something and stand behind it, it's got to be something that you would open a bottle of and pop with friends. And that for me is anything. I think anybody who endorses any kind of thing is always be true to yourself. And from what I hear from the winemakers, you know, the wines that they've produced for Tendai are clearly stuff he likes drinking, stuff that he can put his name behind. And that for me is the authenticity and the integrity behind any kind of brand, whether it's a celebrity brand or you're doing it out of your garage. I think you've got to have wines you can believe in because you drink them.
And in terms of the wine that Tendai is making, we're going to be getting some down to you. What is the style of wine you expect that speaks to a man who's held up the front row for so long?
Yeah, well, look, obviously for us, you know, we're a steakhouse first and foremost. So we're looking for big, bold, meaty reds. So the kind of stuff that you're doing with Holden Manz, that's exactly the kind of thing that we're looking for. Something that stands up to, you know, we're talking protein here. That's like the front row. We're talking a big, hefty steak on the bone, meat you can sink your teeth into. And for that, we need those hearty reds, those Syrahs, those red blends, the big, rich cabs. That's exactly the kind of wines that we're after.
All right, well, we've certainly got one of those. We've also got some of the rosé. We've finally got some glasses here. So cheers, Tendai, and congratulations.
Finally got a glass.
Appreciate your advice, Pete. Thank you.
As we're drinking this, and we've got Carami made this for us with us. As you drink it, just in the simplest of terms, I'm not asking for floral winemaker's language, just in the simplest of terms, why do you like this?
I think it's delicious. It's, you know, it's fruity. It's obviously quite light. I love that about this wine. So I think, yeah, the fruitiness is the biggest thing for me.
The wine that you've made here, Carami, you've brought together the Pinot, you've brought together the Syrah. When you were making this, was there an image of Tendai in your head the whole time? Maybe even a poster of him up in the cellar as you worked towards something you just really felt was going to bring out the rosé that could speak to 117 cap World Cup winning prop forward?
Well, it did put a little bit more pressure on me, that I would say. But yeah, no, definitely. We really tried our best to do the nicest, select the best grapes for him. We specifically press the wine separately, so it's a Pinotage Shiraz blend. So we wanted to make sure that the color was really pretty for him. He also said that he didn't want to go too much to the pink spectrum, but more to the rose gold spectrum, and I think that's exactly what we got with this wine. And then of course he also said he liked the cultivar choice. So with it being predominantly Pinotage, it's also true to our South African roots. For him, it's African roots, so that's why I also like the idea of it being a Pinotage-based Blanc de Noir. So we also blended in some Shiraz with it. Gives a little bit more of the structure, so the fruitiness and the little bit of juiciness that definitely comes from the Pinotage side, and then of course the structure, the little bit of body and the kick and the acidity also comes then from the Shiraz side.
If this is being poured at the Mtawarira house, which I think I've seen some of it on Top Billing. You obviously can't cover the whole house in just one episode because it's roughly the size of Belgium. But if when I am next down for dinner, you're very much a food man as well as a wine man. What are you eating with this?
I think I'm probably going to be drinking this when I have, some cheese, maybe a cheese board. Just something to kick off the night. I won't have this with maybe a steak. So I'll probably keep it to just a cheese board and some of the snacks.
Maybe something light for you, like a sheep and a horse.
If you say so, then I might as well. Have it with that. But it's delicious. I really love this wine.
Carami clearly struck a chord with our host here. What about Gerard with the Cab Syrah that you've made, the red you made over the last number of years have gained a cult following. In terms of creating something, how difficult was it to strike a balance between Holden Manz wine and this is something new and different for Tendai? So creating an original wine that still speaks to the style and values that you hold dear at Holden Manz.
So, I guess at the end of the day, Dan, a lot of what Tendai is about is what Holden Manz is about. And, it wasn't terribly difficult once I'd seen how he enjoyed the different wines and how he reacted to the different structures of wine and the different combinations of varietals. It wasn't terribly difficult to craft something then that was going to be perfect for his personality, for his palate. And so it's actually a really enjoyable and quite easy task to do this. And I guess while we were doing this, we also and I don't know whether we can say this, Tendai, but we have another little project on the go with a red wine which is going to celebrate Tendai's 117 cap. I don't know if you want to say something about that, Tendai.
I think that's a good opportunity. I've heard whispers of this, the kind of wine that you're going to need to know somebody who knows somebody, and then also know a Swiss banker if you're getting a hold of it. Tell me about this very limited edition wine.
No, thanks, Jared. I think this is obviously an add-on to the wine collection. It's really exciting. We decided to create an exclusive line of wine where it relates to my journey as a Springbok. So it's called the 117 cap edition, and the wine is amazing, like out of this world. So we're going to put some special NFTs to each bottle of wine. So it will relate to the first bottle will be my first cap. So there'll be images of me and doing whatever in my first cap, and so it'll make it that much extra special. We obviously want to sell that wine to a lot of the people in the diaspora. We're trying to sell it at a big premium price, so it's not going to be too cheap. I must just tell you that, but because it's amazing wine. It's a great story, obviously, bringing my Springbok journey and my wine journey together.
Does that mean then that bottle 117 World Cup final against Japan is going to be significantly more expensive than, say, Test 41 away to Norway?
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. But somebody out there might just love that cap number 41 more than my final 117 cap. So you never know. Somebody might bid a bigger number for that cap. So you never know.
Let's talk quickly about the other two wines. I want to bring Pete back in a second to get his assessment, because It's not just the rosé and the red blend that you've come up with. There are two others, Benguela Cove producing some bubbles, and Cape Point Vineyards, world renowned for their Sauvignon Blanc, have made exactly that for you. These are the other two wines that complete the lineup.
Yep, yeah, they're certainly the ones that complete the lineup. Like I said, those wine estates, they've got a great reputation. They've created, this massive brand, and for me to just tap into that, for the Beast brand to align with this wine estate, just amplifies what I want to do, what I stand for as a person. So I'm really grateful. I can't thank them enough, and hopefully one day I'll send them a special gift so I can appreciate, just the partnership and just how much it means to me as a person.
Sadly, those other two winemakers aren't able to join us. Johan Fourie, at Benguela Cove, former Diners Club Winemaker of the Year, one at KWV. He's in Belgium at the moment because he's selling South African wine. And Rianti Visser, the siren of Sauvignon Blanc, as Mélie Lambert calls her, is in France. She's in Sancerre at the moment making some wine. But I will get some equally well-vested knowledge on these wines from someone who's drunk from both estates. Peter, Benguela Cove Bubbles, and I think in particular a Cape Point Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc. This is sounding like a pretty solid Cortez.
Oh, I mean, I think it sounds like a very well balanced selection. I mean, Cape Point Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc, that's primo gear. I mean, for me, it's one of those classic Sauvignon Blanc area coming off on where their vineyards are in Noordhoek, and it's magnificent. So I think it's a brilliant selection. I think Tendai has done a great job of pinpointing great wines and great vineyards. So I foresee great things coming from this. We're happy to talk about the steakhouse. Of course, obviously, by talking them up, I'm expecting a little bottle of the 117 at some stage. But no, I think you've kind of ticked all the boxes in terms of representing yourself, in terms of the kind of wines that you like to drink, and plus making popular wines that are going to sell, which at the end of the day is what it's all about.
Those wines are all going to be out very soon, and in fact, I think available from this time now, because we are here not just to do the show at the Marriott, but also the official launch is this evening, and then the wine hits the world.
Yeah, exactly. The official launch is this evening. That's why I'm dressed like this.
Not just to be on my show.
Yeah, not just
a little disappointed.
Show,
I thought you dressed up just for the show.
No, that's special. Then I'm sorry. No, but it's a big night. We get to obviously showcase what the wine collection is about. We've got a nice crowd that's coming. Some strategic partners, that will potentially be able to sell the wine to the public. And then we also, we've got some people that can amplify it, some influencers in the room. So I'm super excited. It's the start of an amazing journey. And like all journeys, you got to put in the hard work, you got to put in the time, and it will pay off, hopefully at the end. And just to finish off, obviously, we've got another event that I haven't told you about this next week in Monaco. So. Which is pretty amazing. So
we look forward to seeing you in Monaco next week.
Yeah, I'm going to France next week, and then we're having another launch in Monaco, so which is going to be amazing. We're going to showcase the wines to people from obviously the French public, from Geneva and London. They're all going to come join us. So there's another market for us to get into. So yeah, I'm super excited.
So magnifique en France, if you happen to be in Monaco. Before we wrap up, because Tendai and I have got a quick gym session to do before we start with the launch. Pete, before we let you go, I have to say thank you, not just for being on the show, for being on the show today, but also for a lovely, lovely evening a couple of weeks back down in Qatar at Bovine. Steve Moresh, who Johannesburgers will know from the local grill, is now down with you in Cabs Bay. It's a fine steakhouse. For people who'd like to come and visit you, just give us a quick snapshot of where you are and what they can expect.
Well, we're on the Camps Bay Strip, so we're here, and steak is what we do. We curate it ourselves. We hang it and dry it ourselves. So if you want a big piece of meat with a hot glass of red wine, we're the place to stop in Camps Bay.
And Pete Goffwood is your host, a celebrity chef extraordinaire, good mate of mine, good mate of the show. Carami, some final words from you. This is wine that I'm afraid is not going to last very long this evening, because both Tendai and I enjoy it considerably. But it's a partnership, I suspect, is going to go on for some time. And I'm guessing from the enthusiasm and the conversation so far, it's one that you and Arra Vineyards are really looking forward to extending.
Yes, it is a massive privilege for us to be working with Tendai. This is just the start, so keep your eyes peeled. There's a lot still going to happen. And like I said, it was the biggest privilege. And I hope the public enjoy the wine as much as we do.
There's a queue of about 800 people outside the front door of the Marriott at the moment, and most of them are waving East flags. So excitement is building. Gerard, there's the 117 wines that come. There's the currant red we're going to be drinking a lot of on a cold Johannesburg evening at the launch a little later on tonight. But going forward, this collaboration of two great rugby internationals, not just one to extend, but one I strongly suspect that both of you are going to have an enormous amount of fun with.
Dan, I think that's ultimately what this is all about. It's about making great wine, and it's about having fun in the process. And if we don't have partners, whether it's someone like Tendai or our partners who look after us around the world, or our customers who drink our wines in different parts of the world, we wouldn't have the fun. I got a message today from somebody in Sweden who had their mid-year party, the 21st of June party last week, where it's light for 24 hours a day, and they said they drank Holden Manz wines all night long, which was kind of brings a tear to your eye to hear that sort of stuff. But it's just the pleasure of making good wine. It's the pleasure of making something that somebody like the Beast, who's phenomenal in terms of what he's achieved over the years with rugby, to be a partner with him is really fantastic for us, and something that we're very proud of. And I know we're going to have a lot of fun going forward, and who knows what else we'll come up with over the next couple of years as we work together.
The Holden Manz partnership, along with the Holden Manz partnership, and the partnership with all four of the estates is really strong already, and only going to grow as we wrap up to get down to June and then on to the launch. Where does this go here for you? Ideally, if we're sitting down in 5 years' time, what would you like to be able to tell me about the Beast signature wine collection?
And I think just to jump into what Gerard said there, this is hugely exciting, to go on this journey together. And I think, what I would want to see probably in 5 years' time is for, millions of people, enjoying the Beast Wine Collection, appreciating the journey that we've come along on, and just the wine estates and the kind of wine that they make, and just, amplifying that in a big way, in Africa and globally. So I think, there's a massive opportunity that lies ahead for us. So I'm just grateful to, to have amazing individuals like Gerard and Carami come along. So I think we're just going to go from strength to strength as a team. Everybody's going to be drinking this wine and enjoying special occasions. And we're going to see this grow, from this day on. So I'm excited.
As am I, as are all of our guests this evening. Tendai's been lovely having you with us on the show. Thank you. We've got a long evening of enjoyment to look forward to, and I can't think of a better way to spend my birthday, so thank you for that. And a big thank you to our winemakers and to our resident celebrity chef. I think we might need a little dinner. Gerard, Carami, Tendai, and myself down at Bovine with Pete in the next little while, some good steak and some very good wine. Guys, thank you so much. Carami, Gerard, lovely wine. Pete, thanks for those suggestions. Some Pinot Noir does sound good as well. And looking forward to seeing all of you again soon. Thanks very much for joining us on the show this evening. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right, and that wraps it up for Tendai myself from the Marriott at Melrose Arch ahead of the launch of the Beast Signature Wine Collection, which goes public as of this evening. And what we'll do is we'll just put Beast's mobile number up on all of our sites. Just give him a call. He'll hand deliver it to you with great pleasure. Shamwar Makorokoto, we will see plenty more of this wine. I've got no doubt. We'll be looking at Monaco next week. And thanks for having the show this evening.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Well, that wraps us up then. I will see you if you are at the Pick and Pay Wine and Food Festival on Saturday with over 20 great South African states and a wonderful focus on sparkling. And Monday's live show, we are with Siobhan Thompson, the head of Wines in South Africa, and a selection of the guests who are going to be taking part in Cape Wine, which is now just months away, the official countdown to the biggest event on the South African wine calendar this year. Until then, enjoy your wine, keep drinking South African wine, and look out for a bottle of the Beast. I think you'll be quite glad when you try it. Cheers.
Cheers.
To join the Pick and Pay Wine Club, simply SMS your smart shopper number to 36775. It's absolutely free, and you'll get for yourself 3 times the smart shopper points on every bottle of wine bought. You'll also get a 20% discount on 10 different wines each month, a 25% discount on a case of wine, and a Magnum, some terrific competitions and invitations to awesome events.